is the judge eating a meal, a succulent Chinese meal. Under what? Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest.
Hey guys, so this is the first time that I've filmed a separate intro while I'm editing. I just wanted to give a little pretext. So I tried filming this video twice, and some talking points that I made in one part of the video and I didn't make in another part, and I just thought for all of my opinions to be in one place, I thought I'd just put it all in this video, especially because I think the Ben Robert-Smith story was being lost a little bit behind some of the other videos that we had done, because I didn't add it until the end of another context nuke. So this is technically a re-upload with a little bit more context and a little bit more clips that weren't added, so some bonus footage, if you will. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video. We're obviously going to have more videos on the Ben Robert-Smith situation. I think Geordie had uploaded another video today, so I might record my reaction to that and have that uploaded soon. So thank you guys for watching, enjoy, and yeah, come back next time.
I fucking called it, boys. I fucking called it. Let's fucking go. Bada bing, bada boom.
Hey, sorry for all the impromptu videos. There will be more, but there will also be other edited videos as well. Stay tuned for a bunch of very high effort videos that don't have much to do with the current context happening in the world right now. It's just that things are happening very, very fast. For instance, you know, let's put Iran aside. Let's move closer to home and talk about Ben Robert-Smith. Do you know who that is? No, he is not a shoe brand, although it would be a pretty high-end one if he was. And, you know, probably made by Afghani kids. But the point is that he is a fallen war hero that just got arrested for war crimes. Never thought I'd see the day. I honestly thought that guy was going to get off scot-free. Now, you can go into greater detail of his discrepancies, and I'll just give you a quick overrun of them. Allegedly kicked a civilian off a cliff, killed a disabled man, allegedly, blooding. Apparently he was into that. That's very cool.
Alright. This article is from 3 days ago. Geordie's video was 13 days ago. Prisoners handcuffed and executed, the war crime charges against Australia's most decorated soldier. Beaming into a small Sydney courtroom on Friday via video link, Ben Robert-Smith sat silently as he appeared on war crime charges for the first time. The country's most decorated living soldier was earlier this month charged with 5 counts of murder, allegedly committed while the former Special Air Services corporal was deployed to Afghanistan. Fresh court documents seen by the BBC reveal in detail allegations that the 47-year-old murdered a disabled Afghan detainee, kicked a handcuffed prisoner off a cliff, ordered rookie soldiers to execute others in an initiation practice called blooding, and planted items on the alleged victims to cover up misconduct, such as throwdowns like ICM radios or whatever they're called, cell phones, you know, random shit. Robert-Smith vehemently denies the claims. Quote, "I always acted within my values, within my training, and within the rules of engagement," he said in a statement after being charged. The criminal case follows a 2023 civil defamation case in which a judge found, on the balance of probabilities, there was substantial truth to some of the murder claims against Robert-Smith. Australia has never held a war crimes trial for one of its own, so what are the allegations, and what happens next? Whiskey 108 compound, 12th of April 2009. Robert-Smith joined the Australian Air Defence Force as a fresh-faced 18-year-old and did 2 tours in East Timor before joining the SAS in 2003. By the time he was sent to a compound dubbed Whiskey 108 on 12th of April 2009, he had more than a decade of service with a Medal of Gallantry under his belt. Australian troops had been battling Taliban insurgents at the site near Tarankote, and Robert-Smith's SAS crew were called in to clear it after an airstrike, the court documents state. They discovered a tunnel from which they pulled and handcuffed 2 men, identified by prosecutors as father and son, Mohammed Issa and Ahmadullah. Ahmadullah, who wore a prosthetic leg, was allegedly carried by Ben Robert-Smith outside the wall of the compound, thrown to the ground, and shot multiple times using a belt-fed machine gun, the court documents say. Quote, This action was witnessed by several ADF members, including those who were providing a protective cordon outside the compound. The documents continue. Back inside the compound, Robert Smith turned his attention to the senior Issa. Wait, so he just killed the son? He killed the son basically in front of his father. Is that what it is? Wait. Back inside the compound, Robert Smith turned his attention to the senior Issa. The prosecutor's submission continues. Grabbing a trooper referred to as the rookie, anonymized in the court documents as Person 4, Robert Smith borrowed a firearm suppressor from another man before placing the detainee on his knees. Shoot that expletive, the court documents allege he said to Person 4, who understood it to be an order and complied. That poor kid probably has it on his conscience that he followed that order. At the conclusion of the mission, both Robert Smith and his patrol leader claimed that they had blooded the rookie, the court documents say. Darwan village, 11th of September 2012. In late 2012, an Afghan National Army soldier working with Australian soldiers turned on them, killing 3 and injuring 2 others, sparking a massive manhunt. The search for Sergeant Hekmatullah became the highest priority for the ADF. Robert Smith, who the year before had been awarded the Commonwealth's highest military honour, the Victoria's Cross, went looking for him in a village called Darwan 2 weeks later. Arriving by helicopter on the 11th September, his team searched a series of compounds near a dry creek bed, capturing 3 detainees, the court documents say. One of them was a man called Ali Jan. The other thing is compounds could just mean houses, like random civilian houses that they were searching through, because the Americans were dead set on, searching building by building a lot of the time, and that was a practice that was handed over to the ADF as well. The prisoners were tactically questioned by Robert Smith, prosecutors allege, which involved him punching and physically assaulting the handcuffed men. Robert Smith then allegedly pulled Ali Jan, who was taken to the edge of a cliff by the colleague given the pseudonym Person 11. Quote, whilst Ali Jan was still handcuffed and physically restrained, Robert Smith kicked him, causing him to fall approximately 10 meters and causing injuries including the loss of teeth, the court documents claim, adding that Person 4 and local villagers say they witnessed the fall. Robert Smith and Person 11 then climbed down the slope to where Ali Jan lay, hurt and still handcuffed. Person 4 told prosecutors he saw Robert Smith and Person 11, both carrying rifles, have a short chat. Several shots rang out when Person 4's back was turned, and when he looked over, Person 11 had his rifle up to his shoulder. The prosecution alleges that Person 11 shot Ali Jan. The court documents claim that a handheld radio, as I mentioned earlier, for the throwdowns, the one that Robert Smith had taken from the body of a man he had earlier killed, was placed near Ali Jan and photographed to support the killing. Robert Smith, during the defamation trial, denied any men had been detained or that the cliff existed. On 20th October 2012, Robert Smith, by then a patrol commander, was sent into... See, this is the thing, and we give them fucking, they do horrible shit, we promote them, and then we make them in command to tell other people to do horrible shit, into the village to look for an insurgent dubbed Objective Pine. The reports from that mission say that 2 people were killed during fighting in a compound. Another 2 were killed shortly after shots and a grenade sent into the cornfield where they were refusing to surrender. That was a lie, prosecutors allege. A junior soldier called Person 66 says there were... Are they dubbing them these numbers from the amount of who's testifying? There's 66 people, so number 4 said this, number 11 said this, number 66 said this. If they've got that many people, or is it number 4, number 18, and number 24 and 66, but there's only 4 or 5 people. They just give them those numbers for who they were in the rank or whatever. A junior soldier called Person 66 says the 2 men in the field were detainees murdered on Robert Smith's command. Person 66 says the pair were detained in the compound and then questioned by Robert Smith, who punched one of them in the stomach. The 2 men were later lined up at the end of the cornfield. A senior soldier shot dead 1 man before Robert Smith allegedly removed handcuffs and a blindfold from the second and ordered that 66 do the same. Whoa. See, and this is the thing, right? You've got Person 4 from the first incident, Person 4 and 11 from the second incident, now you've got person 66. Like, did all these people just come across and just conspire to make up this shit? Or has this got some weight to it, you know? Because it seems like there's some decent fucking weight to it, where one guy said, oh yeah, I witnessed 2 war crimes. Another guy saying, yeah, I witnessed, you know, another war crime. The man had been pushed to the ground, his knees up in front of his face. Prosecutors claim person 66, who was... Wow. Person 66, who was on his first operation mission, paused for a moment, then shot the man 2 to 3 times in the chest, the documents say. So that's now the second person who Robert Smith made do a blooding initiation. He then watched as Robert Smith threw a grenade towards the dead detainees, described by investigators as an act to support the false claim they were killed during legitimate fighting. That shows the intent to cover it up, lead investigators, you know, to a false conclusion. And like, the other thing is too, some of you guys might not agree with me on this, some of you might, but I think even these guys, even though they were ordered to, you know, do these war crimes, I think that they should be prosecuted for the war crimes too. We didn't let that excuse sway our decisions when we were charging and prosecuting the Nazis. We shouldn't let it slide when, you know, we're prosecuting and charging anyone else from the West. We should hold them accountable. Robert Smith more so than what these guys, you know, these guys were following orders. Give them a bit of a lighter sentence. You know, they should have known better, but don't let Robert Smith take the fall for all of these murders. Charge them as well, because they should have known better. You know the rules of engagement before you get sent out. They know that you have the ability to say no to orders like that. Yeah, it'll fuck your career. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to stay in the SAS, but would you want to if that was what they were telling you to do? Forensic pathologists identified marks consistent with ligatures in photographs of at least one of the men. Less discernible linear marks were also found on the other. The trial could be years away, and that's true. This is gonna take a long time. There's a lot of evidence, it's a very high profile case, and it's not just a normal murder trial, it's a full-on war crimes trial. This has to be done by the book, step by step, because if any mistakes happen, then this guy walks free. Robert Smith stepped back from active duties at the end of 2012 and formally left the ADF in 2015, shortly after receiving a commendation for distinguished service. About a year later, top military brass began an inquiry into rumors of war crimes committed in Afghanistan, and media reports detailing allegations began circulating. And I'm pretty sure that might have some like David McBride might have some involvement in that media reports kind of thing. Robert Smith was by 2018 identified as the alleged perpetrator in several incidents, something he vehemently denied, and launched a landmark defamation case over. He lost. If he didn't make that defamation suit, if he didn't push that, then there wouldn't have been so much eyes on this, and there might have been a chance that the top officials of the ADF would have gone, nah, let's sweep this under the table because we want, or like, let's deal with this in-house, you know, behind the scenes, because we don't want this, you know, screwing our reputation either. But because he brought so much light to it, well, they can't just let this fucking slide. In sworn evidence given at the civil trial, transcripts of which were included in the court documents tendered in the criminal case, Robert Smith denied he had ever broken the rules of war underpinned by the Geneva Convention. He also said he knew killing a person under control, or detainee, would never be permissible, and denied ever using throwdowns, jargon to describe items like a radio or weapon planted at the scene of lethal engagements to justify them. We've already talked about this a lot. Quote, Robert Smith exercised his right to decline the opportunity to add, amend, or comment upon his previous sworn evidence, the court document says. However, prosecutors have outlined other evidence they want to use to make their case at trial. There were common themes to the alleged murders. The court documents concluded every single alleged victim was handcuffed, detained for a period, and questioned prior to the execution, and each was killed in a situation where the ADF had control of the situation, and there were no active engagements with enemy forces. There was also at least one direct or witness account for each of the alleged killings. The court documents reveal that list includes 3 witnesses who testify that they were involved in the execution of one or more detainees. Now that's the thing, right? Why would you admit to, nobody in their right mind would admit to, hey, yeah, nah, I killed someone, I broke the Geneva Conventions, I did war crimes at, his order. If they're going to come out and say, yeah, nah, I fucked up and he told me to fuck up, then what they say about the other fuck ups that he did, don't you think that they have some weight to them? Because these guys are risking it, right? They're risking the fucking going to prison for a long time to, bring to light his actions too, either at the directions of or with the complicity of Ben Roberts-Smith, who was their military superior. And that's the thing, even if these guys are coming out and saying, oh yeah, I committed war crimes, he knows about them, he didn't tell me off for them, he didn't order me to do them, but he knows about them, well, he's in the wrong still, because he's the superior officer. He's supposed to go, fuck, get out of here, I'm reporting you, all that shit, right? And he didn't. So even if you want to be like, oh, he didn't do any war crimes, well, other people did war crimes and he condoned it. He did nothing about it. Roberts-Smith's legal team has not yet responded to the detailed allegations put in the documents, nor has the veteran entered a plea, and any trial is still a long way off. Granting Roberts-Smith strict conditional bail on Friday, Judge Greg Grogan said it would be not weeks or months, but years, possibly years and years, before Roberts-Smith appears in the dock.
Kind of man that you would think would be completely uncontroversial that he is getting prosecuted and facing some sort of justice for it. The reason that I would think that that would be completely uncontroversial is I was under the illusion that Australia still had that sort of Americana 90s legal thriller vibe about it, where it's, like a few good men standing up for what's right. And then it'd just be one of those court cases where you had some guy that looked exactly like Jack Nicholson, but with an Australian accent. You can't handle the truth. Wait, I'd imagine he'd be much more sunburnt as well. Just kind of blistering head. You can't handle it. So I thought that that would be what would happen, and then everybody would think, yes, this is why we are better than the Taliban, because we have a standard in Australia, and that's why we are the superior civilization, and then the credits would roll. But what happened instead of the credits rolling is a bunch of psychotic, I'm assuming One Nation voters coming out and being like, he didn't do nothing. Really, just the same kind of, those geros at high school that used to have a behaviorally disturbed child, and the mum would come in and be like, he didn't do it. And we haven't told you what he did yet. Yeah, whatever it was, he didn't do it.
So I've already experienced this because I posted up part 1, 2, and 3 of Ausmerican war crimes. And the first one, we briefly touch on the subject of Ben Roberts-Smith. I posted it on Facebook. I've just started my social media for the podcast, for the show. So I have no followers, hardly any views. I posted up a video mentioning Ben Roberts-Smith, and I've already got Australian white nationalists complaining in my comment section that he's a fucking war hero. He's going to be... What were the comments? Hang on. In the comments, we've already got David McBride sits in jail clapping his hands. Ben Roberts-Smith, the murderer, sits in jail polishing his medals. McBride deserves to be sitting in the goal. And that's just a portion of some of the bullshit that we see on a daily basis when we cover stories like this.
It's like that kind of person is coming out of the woodwork to defend Ben Roberts-Smith. Can we all just agree that Ben Roberts-Smith doesn't deserve to be venerated in the same class of great Australian crims as Ned Kelly, which is where he seems to be going now. They seem to be putting up, even Freeman as well, the guy that killed cops. You can tell that these would be the exact same people that when anybody else shits on cops, they're just going to be like, oi, defend the boys in blue. And then you have an active cop killer, and they're like, nah, put him up with Ned Kelly. He's a hero too. Well, he's not as stylish, I'll give you that. And then on top of that, what's happening as well is... I had to close the door. Somebody that doesn't want to be on camera just almost was. Anyway, we're talking about war crimes, so probably let's just turn it back. But look, yeah, that's what I thought would happen. Evidently, they came out to bat and defend that guy, which I personally think is quite interesting, because there are numerous genuine heroes in the Australian Defence Force that you could be lionising, including virtually his entire cohort that came out and testified and said, yeah, he's a psycho. That man is not an Australian war hero. That man is a psychopath that just likes killing. That's what they were coming out to testify for. And yet, he's the good guy? Not any of these other cohorts that came out and said that. What about all of the other Australian Defence Force? You could pick, there would be such a long list of Australian Defence Force personnel risking their lives, staying overnight in villages that were receiving reprisal attacks from the Taliban and were defending themselves to defend innocent villages. You could pick a ton of soldiers that would have been protecting aid workers while they were building vital infrastructure like wells that would have been picked off by the Taliban. There is a ton of people that I've read about.
So for the longest time, well, since I can remember, since I've been alive, since I've been coherent, my understanding of the New Zealand Defence Forces is that we are solely like peacekeeping forces. We walk around with our guns and that in foreign country, but we focus more on the humanitarian stuff and more on peacekeeping. If there's a buffer line or whatever and it needs to be armed by someone who's a middleman or whatever, how the UN will send in their peacekeepers and that. I mean, our defence forces, the last couple of years, from my understanding, the only time that we've actually had any of our planes go up or, people go overseas was when we were going and delivering supplies and aid to some Pacific Islands that had gone through some pretty horrific weather systems, like some bad cyclones. I think Tonga a few years ago had a volcano erupt. So we went over there, we took some building supplies, and I think we had some service members go on the ground and help with building a couple of buildings for schools and hospital, temporary medical facilities, stuff like that. So from my understanding, it's always really been peacekeeping missions for New Zealand for the last couple of years, and that's where we don't have to worry about these rules of engagement and whether or not we're going to be doing war crimes. So for a country like Australia, who is so in bed with the US, they have this ability, they have the chance to really remove themselves from those horrific acts, the I guess the crutches of what war is. There are options for people to be involved in a way that doesn't jeopardize their country, their service members, their morals. With this conflict in Iran, say New Zealand wants to get involved and our government says, hey, look, we'll help out, and America is going to be the ones dictating what we do, where we go, how we do shit. I mean, like World War One is a good example. The English knew that Gallipoli was going to be fucking hell, and they decided that they were going to send people from their colony to die on that beach. And then in World War Two, we basically contracted ourselves out to the British to dictate where we went, and they threw us at the front lines. And Australia and New Zealand was one of the most heavily affected when it came to World War II in terms of countries that were removed from Europe but decided to join the cause. We're still dealing with a lot of the aftermath from World War II, especially because we had the 28th Māori Battalion. We were thrown at the enemy like fucking human shields, and a lot of our men didn't come back, which started the whole generational fatherless home thing. And the ones who did come back came back extremely broken with no supports, riddled with PTSD or physical disabilities afterwards that they couldn't work, they couldn't support their family, things like that. And then the mental side of it too. So a lot of these men were coming back and they were drinking and doing drugs and just doing whatever they could to cope. And then, that also led to abuse and all sorts. So this has been a generational thing probably since before World War II. I think there's possibilities that we can trace it back even further, maybe to the possible, first colonial landings of Europeans to New Zealand. But I'm 3 generations down from a guy who served in World War II. My great-grandfather, then my grandfather, then my mother, and then me. This guy here, he's seen some pretty bad shit. He did some pretty bad shit. It was involved in a pretty bad time. And, that generational shit, right, gets passed on, and it doesn't water down. In some cases, it gets worse. So, if we want to sacrifice a generation, we've got to consider the fact that it doesn't just affect that one generation, it trickles down. And it keeps going. If we get involved with this Iran war and this conflict, we're sacrificing a lot more than just a few men. We're sacrificing a lot more than just resources. Diplomatic relations, popularity. We're losing a lot, and those are the aspects of war that people don't really take into consideration, especially our governments. But I think that those are the most important things to think about, is what is the everlasting effect after the fact. And things like this, the backlash of ADF personnel, Australian Defence Force personnel, being involved in atrocities at the behest and direction of the United States reflects really badly on the ADF, on the Australian government, and its own public and its own people now are reconsidering relations with America, where their positions are in this current conflict, and whether or not they're going to support things like this. It has brought a very negative point of view now, because if one guy's getting charged for it, it shows that, you know, it's like a cockroach. You see one, there's fucking hundreds more. That man was representing the Australian Defence Forces, and he did some horrible and horrific shit. They're charging the man, but the entity that was okay with it, complicit with it, condoned it, they're not getting much backlash. But in the court of public opinion and support, public support and reputation, they're right and honestly fucked.
Some civilian / interpreter pinned down in gunfire, and they've gone in and risked their lives and taken them. Every last one of them is a genuine Australian war hero. And yet you pick Ben Roberts-Smith, the guy that would go to those same villages that those other soldiers defended and be like, oh, nice, target practice. I don't get it. I don't get it. Can someone please explain it to me? The only thing, please explain. I think I just explained it. I think honestly, if you look at their profiles time and time again, it was just that type of guy that just writes like, family courts did me over, I didn't do nothing. Look, I'll give some of it the benefit of the doubt. Maybe the family courts did screw over some of them. It can't be all of them. The family courts can't have gotten it wrong every single time, but that seems to be a really big tell of it. It just seems to be a big tell that you are venerating a man, and you're not even at the point of, let's just wait until the facts come out. You're going out and batting in for him.
It's this, like this bootlicking class. I don't know what it is. It's this parasocial, you know, like, I don't know, like this, oh, he's my saviour, I'm gonna defend him to the death, and I'm gonna speak for him, and I can interpret his words, and I don't understand what this parasocial fucking ideological obsession is really for a lot of these people to be. Even when I talk about like Elon Musk and how like he didn't start any of his companies, he just, you know, fucked money around and, you know, does marketing and says that he's created all this shit. Then people come into my comment section and they're like, oh, what have you ever created? You haven't got money like Elon Musk. And I was like, bruh, if I was given $1 million from my dad, dodged the draft in South Africa, moved to America and started working illegally, and brought fucking PayPal and then acted as if I fucking built it, and then I brought Tesla and acted as if I built it, and then I brought Twitter and act like I just fucking, like I had built it. Like, you know, what has he actually created on his own? You know, and you come out and say SpaceX, and then it's like, yeah, but is he the one sitting there doing science? No, he's sitting there doing fucking Twitter. He's constantly online and then fucking playing video games and shit and doing ketamine. And then all these other like smarter people come up with these ideas, or he comes up with ideas and says implement it. They do the problem solving, they do the figuring it out, and then he comes out and goes, yeah, nah, I've just made this rocket that lands itself. It's like, what about your fucking team? The team of people who actually made it work while your ass was sniffing cat and fucking posting on X.
It's a very interesting similar pattern to what happened with Mr. Kerry Stokes, isn't it? Who came out, he's a billionaire in Australia, he owns Channel 7, and he thought the same thing. No, he's got a Victoria Cross, so he's great, and I'm just going to make my massive media network sync for him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then the facts started coming out, then he started doing it back away, not today, disco lady, but the horse had already ran. It really just shows that there is a type of Australian or person in Western civilization that is so easily bought. Like, they really seem to have, coincidentally, the exact same thoughts that Channel 7 had. Isn't that odd? This is the same wake-up sheeple. Yous are all just tools of the mainstream media. Oh, Channel 7 said something. Nah, they're all right. They do 7 mate. And so they're just copying exactly, like, the talking points that I have heard when Channel 7 was running a defence for them.
It's like Fox News and Sky News, the whole Murdoch conglomerate doing the shilling and grifting for Donald Trump. You know, the shift that they do and the, you know, manipulation that they give to the public. It's just all too common nowadays.
This is that guy. On top of that, just seems to be a bit in the head. They look, again, I think that a hero is a very good indicator of the type of person someone is. Like, you're looking up to that person because you see something inside yourself, and I think that they see Ben Roberts-Smith in themselves. And that's really unsettling. That is really, really unsettling. And it is also extremely unsettling how easy...
It's like if you met somebody whose, hero was Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer or something along the lines, like, oh, my hero is the guy who did the Columbine shooting, you'd be like, oh, okay, this person's a psychopath. Like, they look up to the wrong type of people. And then we, like, have these people who are looking up to war criminals, and they're like, nah. That's what cool war looks like. Yeah, cool war looks like shooting unarmed civilians and kicking people off the cliffs. I don't want none of this boring war where it's actually like, fighting with the enemy. Nah. I want to shoot women and children. That's real war. That's cool war.
Easy it is to manipulate people's minds, and then they won't let it go because no, that was the first piece of information I heard. So Ben Robert Smith is a hero. Doesn't matter what facts come out afterwards. Doesn't matter about all the people that testified that were around him at the time. None of their opinion matters. They're not, like defending Australia for some reason. Just Ben. No other Defence Force personnel. Again, I am really not against the idea of, the whole Australian digger legend living on and saying that Australian veterans deserve a level of respect that the ordinary citizen doesn't. I'm really not against that idea at all. But pick a better mascot. This guy doesn't deserve to be buried next to the tomb of the unknown soldier. He is everything that should be completely condemned in a Western military.
That's what I was saying. I think I said it in my previous video or my other attempt of filming this part. If this is the person that you're exonerating and you're promoting, you're going to end up with a culture of, oh, okay, it's alright to commit war crimes. If you charge and prosecute and demonize a person who comes out and does the right thing, like blowing the whistle, such as what David McBride done, then it starts the social acceptability of charging and prosecuting people for war crimes or terrorism or being a traitor. When they come out and they blow the whistle on, horrific things that their own country's doing. It leaves the, social acceptability for a mass suppression state, authoritarian regime. And are we really going to accept that in the West? You hear all about how you can't come out and criticize, Korean government if you're in North Korean government if you're in North Korea, Russian government, all this shit. And it's like, really, is you say that suppression's evil, but then when we do the suppression, you're fine with it. So rules for thee, not for me thing, it's the same thing that I bring up. It's like, if you're going to have this moral standpoint, then have that moral standpoint for everything. Don't be a fucking hypocrite. Don't be like, oh, the Muslims don't let people speak, or oh, the communists don't let people speak. Bruh, it's happening here. Like, I'm so sick of this, like, oh, they're evil for the actions that we do.
Absolutely everything. There is nothing honourable about that. Like, using a civilian population that you are on the pretext of protecting as sort of just this, like, animal that you hunt, like that's defending Australia, is it? Anyway, I thought that was quite odd. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as to why this phenomenon is happening, because it honestly is quite interesting to me on a sociological level. I know it sounds really wanky, but seriously, like, that really says a lot about a cohort of Australia, doesn't it? So
I think it's this thing of, like, ideological martyrdom. These people who are part of these groups, with their beliefs, their politics, their religion, their, whatever it is that they believe, and whatever label that they put upon themselves and the subgroups that they're a part of, they need the mascot. They need someone that they can martyr or, defend, or look like they're being a victim of, a system that they don't agree with. For example, Charlie Kirk, when he died, his name and his face got used by TPUSA to garner more support for MAGA, for Donald Trump. I mean, even the way that Donald Trump was going on, oh, the media is trying to silence me, or Andrew Tate with his, I'm defending this, that, and the other for male masculinity, and, you know, they're trying to suppress my speech, and they're trying to shut me up, you know, because I'm trying to teach people how to get out of the matrix. You know, he creates this boogeyman, and then creates himself as the savior. Donald Trump did it, Tate did it. And it's not necessarily that Ben Robert Smith has made himself the supposed savior, right? Or the mascot, the face, the defender of, you know, this ideological thought process. But somebody did. And somebody made a mistake by making it him. So these guys will come out and bat and defend whoever it is. But you should have chosen someone to be your mascot, to be your martyr, to be your defender of the free world, defender of the ADF, a little bit wiser, because now you've got someone who needs to be defended, needs to defend himself. Whereas if you had somebody who was righteous, who hadn't done fucking war crimes, then there wouldn't be a need to, you know, for all of these bootlickers to come out and defend him.
Let me know your thoughts below. And also on top of that, I'm going to Queensland. Probably not a good time to be shitting on these guys who go to Queensland. But that's where I'm going next. Tickets below. Go get them. And if Trump does something really nuts, which it looks like he is, I might have to do one of these videos again soon.
This is from the Sydney Morning Herald. Special treatment for Ben Robert Smith needs a better explanation. This was posted yesterday. On Monday, Premier Chris Minns was clear when asked whether he believed accused war criminal Ben Robert Smith had been afforded special treatment as he left Silverwater Correctional Complex. Minns said corrective services staff were simply taking measures to ensure Robert Smith's safety when he was escorted late on Friday through the back exit of the facility, avoiding a throng of waiting media at Silverwater's front gate. Quote, I don't think they would be applying that in relation to every prisoner who walks out, but in fairness to them, every prisoner who walks out isn't met with 100 cameras and 100 journalists, Minns said, when pressed on the actions of the corrective services staff. The Premier is correct that very few prisoners who leave jail attract such attention. However, the fallen war hero, who is facing 5 charges of war crimes, murder, is certainly not the first high-profile public figure to leave a remand or prison complex. Others, such as former New South Wales Labour Minister Eddie Obeid, or former TV game host Andrew O'Keefe, have had high-profile cases that generated much media interest. Neither received a corrective services escort, nor had staff assigned to block the window of a car to protect their privacy. That treatment was unique to Robert Smith. It was not the decision to allow Robert Smith to leave the complex via a back exit that should be under scrutiny. That is not unprecedented. Rather, it was what came next. He doesn't seem like he's too worried about having his fucking picture taken as he's leaving the facility, though. With the taxpayer-funded convoy, the staff deliberately obstructed a public road in an attempt to stop the former Special Air Services soldier being photographed as he left Silverwater in a silver Audi SUV. The Premier said on Monday that that measure was about ensuring safety. However, this departure turned into a chaotic situation that did not appear to be safe for corrective services staff or the media. As Herald crime reporter Riley Walter wrote on Saturday, a long-standing agreement allows media to wait at a designated point near the prison's entrance. Corrective services staff officers on Friday asked members of the media to remain on grassed areas either side of the entry and exit to the facilities and clear nearby footpaths. Maintaining that position, the officers said, would ensure the safety of both the media and Robert Smith as he left the complex. They did as they were asked, having been led to believe he would leave via the entrance. Robert Smith was then brought out of a different gate. It should be noted that protest about the behaviour of the staff, which is under investigation by corrective services, is not sour grapes from the media. Indeed, the Herald was able to carry out its job despite the best efforts from the prison staff. Press freedom underpins a functioning democracy, and any attempts to thwart that should be a concern. I agree. Equally concerning is why Robert Smith was seemingly given special protections not extended to others. There are serious questions to be answered about how this was handled. Corrective Services New South Wales review must be thorough, and its findings should be released. Former Australian soldier speaks out against allegations of Afghan war crimes. This is from Radio New Zealand. Speaking to the media on Queensland's Gold Coast, Robert Smith said he always acted within the rules of engagement in Afghanistan. Quote, I categorically deny all of these allegations, and while I would have preferred these charges not be brought, I will be taking this opportunity to finally clear my name, he said. I'm proud of my service in Afghanistan. Well, it's interesting to see what comes of this in the next year or so, because there is the highest of chances that we probably won't see a trial for, I'd say, an easy 4 years or so. It'll be the 2030s that we get a trial date set. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether or not we have any updates between now and having a judge set a trial date. So for the moment, until anything happens, our Ausmerican war crimes series is at a halt. I appreciate you guys for sticking around for our coverage of the context needed and for the situation that is at hand. I'll be making sure to keep you guys updated in the future if we have anything else come out from the courts. But let me know how you guys feel about this in the comment section below. Let's have an open discussion. Let's be cool, calm, and collected. Hope you guys have an awesome time. Relax, be at peace, love one another, free Palestine, end the blockade in Cuba, talk about Sudan, keep eyes on it all. From the river to the sea, deuces.